will ultimately.
Exactly.
Because you can say that I will be disciplined. Whether you are disciplined is
not,
another matter.
The reality
Yes,
is another
yes.
matter. Yes, exactly.
Yeah.
The point I was trying to, with the explanation I was giving before his
Yeah.
interview, yes. It's the discipline that is always the case.
Yeah.
Like I was, the analogy I was drawing, that,
Yeah.
like children in the house. So it's always the discipline that forces us to, or the lack of discipline
Yeah.
that forces us to, go back to the IMF to seek for a bailout. Because when someone comes in, maintain some level of discipline, build up certain buffers for us to build on to make meaningful progress, then we have one reckless person or regime comes in, destroy everything, then we have to start all the way back from the base. Then it's as if we're doing one step forward and then 2 or 3 steps backwards. That's what ends up sending us back to IMF all the time. So it's not about the fact that, or the issue about IMF not being worth it or helping us. If, for instance, if what happened in 2022, 2023, if IMF hadn't, set in, I doubt we have an economy called Ghana today, or Ghana's economy today, because we are virtually on the verge of collapse. If we quite remember,
So
our international reserves was left with just about a week or so, or less than 2 weeks of import cover.
Yeah.
Because we've depleted so much that our balance of payment was so much into the red that we couldn't really meet our external obligations, which ends up, landing us in default, because virtually we can't pay the people that we owe. Even those we owe domestically, we couldn't pay them. So it's always about the discipline. So my point, but what I was trying to point out with the interview was that, and with the issue of discipline or fiscal discipline, was that's why the president, if I listen to him clearly, he made reference to strengthening the fiscal framework, especially with the laws, with the Public Financial Management Act, for instance, and then the Fiscal Responsibility Acts. He made reference to those are also going to be strengthened. And I think we've actually started seeing the reforms taking shape with the Public Financial Management Law, for instance, the Act, for instance, which there was some amendments sent to Parliament earlier, around the budget time.
Okay.
Or I think some amendment was done to the Act.
Yeah.
Earlier in the year.
Yeah.
So that's part of the discipline that government probably is
envisaging.
Yes, to maintain. And I was saying, if you see, the issue with the IMF is that it always forces us to maintain certain level of discipline. Now, for instance, if you see, at least we are achieving some of the targets, or so a certain level of the target. Although in December we were off by wide margin some of the targets, but I think this management is, roping in
able to
yes, and maintaining the discipline and bringing it to achieve some of the targets. That's why, for instance, we're able to overachieve the international reserve component of it as well. That's at least the target was to maintain at least some level, I think 3.5 or so, or 3.4, like 4 months of import cover. But as we speak, we are at 4.7 months of import cover, and then almost virtually around 10 points, almost $10.8 billion of international reserve, which is over and above the projected target set by the IMF. Then if we even take what do you call it, the debt levels, the debt to GDP, I think the 55%, was it 50 or 50%?
Target.
Yes.
I think 55, 58, yeah.
So as we speak, it's 55%, which means
really?
That, yes.
Because of the performance of the city?
Yes, to a very large extent. And also to a very large extent, the base of our GDP is also expanding. So we've also not done any significant borrowing within the medium term, the short to the medium term as we speak. So which is also stabilizing our debt to that level.
So far you're saying a commitment in action.
Exactly.
So it is not a commitment in words alone.
In words. So
at least at the beginning, there's a commitment in action.
Exactly.
Okay.
No, yes, at the
beginning. Oh,
it was words. So now we are seeing some level of actions to back the words. So what we all have to pray for is that this level of discipline, at least we're not seeing there's a level of fiscal control in terms of discipline expenditure so far. And that's why the president equally states that most of, and it's, if you quite remember, it's something we actually advise government to do, that before you go about awarding new contract, even paying off the existing ones, because we know as a matter of fact, certain contracts in this country were not even supposed to be awarded in the first place. They were awarded, and then performance was very poor. Some were virtually not even performed, yet payments were done. Yeah. So all those things need to be. So we are CSS. It's something we actually recommend to government that before you go about even meeting those obligations, paying off those debts, arrears, for instance, you need to actually audit to be sure that whatever you are paying for or whatever project you are paying for, one, was actually executed.
Yeah.
And two, if it was executed, is it up to the quality, the standard that you are paying for, you expect that you are paying for? Okay. If it meets those criteria, then we can pay it. But then other than that, we don't have to commit public funds in paying such arrears.
So this auditing that we are seeing is something that you agree completely with? Yes,
it's something we recommended it
okay.
to the government right at the beginning of their tenure. So it is well and good that they are, taking it and they are working on it actively. So at the end of the day, it will end up, because we know in Ghana, we know that certain roads were constructed within a week or two after rains. It become a rough road.
Yes.
So I don't think that you and I or any well-meaning Ghanaian will support government to pay such a contractor. Even if they are going to pay them, then not the actual contract sum that for instance, they should be paid for a tar road. Well, what they actually did was to provide us with a feeder road. Okay. So all those things should be taken account into. So once those are done, then I'm very sure even the total debt or the quantum in terms of the nominal will also come down, especially the domestic one. With the external one, we are lucky through tight monetary policy implementation and certain decisions by the Bank of Ghana, and to a very large extent, the fiscal policy synchronization by the Minister of Finance, Arthur Folsen, is giving us certain benefit with the exchange rate, with the cedi consistently appreciating over the period. So that automatically also give us some debt relief on the external side. Okay. So if assuming our debt is even say 100 billion, or let's say $10 billion or 20 billion, by virtue of appreciating against the dollar, or the cedi appreciating against the dollar by that 24 percentage point,
I've seen some gains.
It means that the quantum of our external debt has reduced by 24 percentage point.
Okay.
Are you getting it?
Okay.
So, and that's a very significant. The president put a figure to it. I've not actually.
I think 150 billion around that.
Yes, I've actually not I've not done the calculation, so I can't give a specific figure.
Okay.
Yes, but that we should expect the reduction in the external debt by virtue of the performance of the cedi by at least not less than 24%. As you speak. So if the same performance, assuming it's maintained at this level, or the cedi is even stabilized at this current level, we've on the debt side, or especially on the external debt side, we are able to do a lot of savings over there. So that will further, I can say without a doubt that unless government within this short period will contract loans to cover that space, which I doubt, then we should further see a reduction in the debt to GDP ratio to probably somewhere around 50% of GDP, which again, it means that we'll be outperforming the target set by the IMF, way ahead of the completion date, or even the target date of 2027, 2028, which means that by beginning of 2026, we would have achieved that target completely, or overachieve it to be within the acceptable bandwidth. So, and then we again, we see the policies of one very critical.
And I'll come to the policies.
Okay.
But first, SM will do some business for me. I have an interview at 30 minutes past 9. Military officers, so they are always on time.
Yes.
They take it personal if you are not on time when you have asked them to.
Very serious.
Yes. So SM, do some business for me. When we'll come back, we'll conclude our conversation with Albert on a few things, especially because I recall back in 2017, this matter of the base of our economy is expanding.
When we
the
want,
debt to GDP ratio
want the government
and they were warning
that.
that do not go and borrow.
Yes,
they put
but yes, they did exactly the opposite.
They borrowed, Papa. SM.
Haxa Misha, any Haxa capsules, your fab boom. Na Odiano says stomach ulcer and quadia. Unio how cra, a bit to say, the amount. Haxa Misha, any Haxa capsules, no. En room you need FD4 aja to muse kamapa. Na ope Haxa Misha and Haxa capsules ni biatwa. Ghana fana bebia pharmacy anase heba shop bia wo Ghana ha no. Ubora hwa onsa ebetimi akabi. Okanshi drug lane e won kran ha. Medina Surrounding Pharmacy, Kufrudia, Gabson Pharmacy, Kumasi, Danny Herba, Tema Little George Community 2, Ashamanso, Ekus Pharmacy, Kaswa, Yukat Pharmacy, and after Sunubre Nichemu, Ewo, Takwaswa, Owas, Ebibidrofi, Onsa, Ebitimi, Akabi, Elho. Na Enre Pacho, not recommended for pregnant women, lactating mothers, or children under 12 years. Or your bad for your funu, and I say, Oma Quadanufo, and I won't finish your doom, you know. Ede ekwane pempen so ahwe enadre wantimi anko ho ebia na open doso promo atimi etu akwakwakwaton for bulk purchase obetimi afra homa trufo yi 0240238310 0240238310 and I say 0203822855 0203822855 Haxa Misha and afis no Haxa capsules also a townful. Kunungana Limited, a drama diaba Mr. Q. Mr. Q produced by Kunungana Limited. Mema papa bema wa yemre pam enka hoade na wo sisi san hoade no eni ho bio. Abusia ya be ho keja ne hunu mututu o de mo sisi kura beben. Mr. Q ado ne be boa am wa san si dada mu bio sisi no kotodwe be san nya hoade dwumadi ne de dodo na se na sa no me adwenje se ejina sisi ri kotodwe ne so. And Mr. Q statement to their physical fitness. Ebesan about strengthens waist and needs. Upe biata pharmacy chemical heba should be a ben obura ho also Mr. Q. Beat me AB amwato. Fre Kunungana Limited for kofa by Mahama Gov'T iswe. 0244 139 176 0244 139 176 and as a 0274 139 176 0274 139 176. Mr. Q, or see a Bema Precope. Mr. Q, be a real man.
And do remind me that I said I have a song for a chairman. Any updates? SM, any update on the chairman's?
Oh, yes, still go for you crash. Chairman, you good on ya? Ghana focus.
Where did they say they are holding him? Oyoko or
Yoku?
Oyoko.
Yeah.
Anyway, in the meantime, Ohima Detergents are your trusted partner in hygiene. With Ohima, we believe cleanliness is more than a chore, it's a lifestyle. That's why we offer a wide range